When I bought my Murcielago almost 3 years ago now, it was a stretch financially, to put it mildly. So I should have maybe gone for a Gallardo or something more reasonable. Coming from an R8, I felt like maybe the Gallardo would be too similar. Really wanted a Mercy. I stretched and pulled together every penny I had to buy that Mercy. But to do so, that meant I needed to get an e-gear one. Even back then, the manual prices were double, triple, etc. of an e-gear. I found my e-gear car. I was happy with it. I had assumed, like Ferraris of that era, that swaps were just a thing and that it was not that hard and people were doing it. And I was wrong. I went on Lambo Power and within a month realized like basically only 2 or 3 cars had ever been swapped at that time, one of which had factory support and the other 2 of which either had to do standalone ECUs or just like insane amounts of custom fabrication. So my e-gear car, for all intents and purposes, was going to be e-gear for eternity. Fast forward 2 years, and rumors start coming out that someone had cracked the code. It was primarily a computer programming issue, less than a hardware issue. It's getting all the various ECUs and TCUs to play nicely and not trigger error codes had been what had prevented success in the past, and some mad genius had figured it out. I was excited, but also like, hey, let's see a couple come out. The first company that I tried to work with asked me for a deposit, but didn't have any proof of a working car. And that was a red flag for me. I put my swap dreams on hold and just kept watching the market and watching the market. That initial prototype never came to market, but I think that they were on to something, and eventually, after some drama with that particular company, they did eventually ship a working prototype and prove it could be done. So now that I knew it could be done, I just had to find someone I could trust to do it right, because this is, again, the most expensive asset I own short of a house and like an incredibly important and rare car to me. So I wanted to make sure it was done right and not something that would destroy the resale value of the car as well as the drivability. So I began what was now a almost 9-month due diligence process of talking to everyone that did swaps, and a lot of really interesting characters out there, but everyone was extremely generous and patient with their time. I got to meet Houston at Royalty Exotics, and he gave me a tour, showed me every nut and bolt, and the amount of things that are changed in this car is wild. It's not just an engine out. You're changing the cluster where the speedometer and odometer are, potentially. You're replacing, obviously, the center console, the carbon trim. A lot has to come out and be changed in order to make the swap work. It's not just like a couple of cold ones and a long weekend sort of thing. I talked extensively to John Henkel at Machina Motorworks many times, and then I talked to Jonathan Bropes at Third Pedal LLC. And they all had their unique opinions on this is the right way to do it, and here's how I do it slightly different than the other guys. And all it does is really overwhelm you to say, okay, well, there's 3 different people, all of which are doing it slightly differently, all of which are convinced that their way is slightly better than the other guys. So how do I know who's right? I'm not an engineer. I can't go look under their car and tell you. The only way to know is to see cars drive and put a lot of miles on it and hope they don't blow up. So I don't want to be that guinea pig. I don't want to be the guy. I'm just going to keep waiting and waiting and waiting. But having an e-gear car, knowing that a manual is possible, and having already waited 3 years, my ability to wait was starting to diminish quickly. So I came to a turning point where I said, I'm either going to sell this car and buy a Diablo, which is what my friend group was keen on, or I'm going to convert it to a stick shift. And I went and I drove a Diablo and I fell in love. I was like, this is the car for me. This was an early 91, no power or anything. The clutch weighs 1,000,000 pounds. You got to just stomp on it to get anything done. No power steering, but it sounded so cool. It was so raw. It was so analog. And I said, you know what? Early Diablo, which is usually known as sort of the least desirable Diablo, still better than an e-gear Murcielago in terms of just like the driver engagement and feel, even though it's incredibly compromised. I mean, the airbag is just like a tumor coming out of the dashboard. The interior is like literally nuts and bolts. I mean, the font for climate control looks like it's a joke. Like it came from a meme page, like imitating the 90s, basically. Like the car is ridiculous, but I was like, I would prefer that over an e-gear Murcielago because I've had my fun with e-gear and I just enjoy rowing my own gears. I started looking at selling my e-gear Murcielago, had a few more talks with all the various swap companies, and John Henkel at Machina had recently bought a 599 as his dealer inventory. He also runs a dealership to swap it and then basically sell it and make some money. And I said, oh, tell me more about that. That's kind of interesting. And he said, well, in the Ferrari world, if you can take a car that either has some transmission issues or needs a clutch anyways, and you swap it, you can make all the money back on that swap and then usually a little premium. It depends on the car, it depends on how it's done and all that. But if you buy right, like you can often get the swap for free when you go to sell. I thought that is an interesting point. And I hadn't thought about it that way. So instead of having a tough time selling an e-gear Murcielago, if I convert it, worst case scenario, if I still wanted that Diablo, I could sell the Mercy for hopefully what I paid for the swap or thereabouts and then have a free conversion on the back end. And I also learned that the e-gear parts alone, if someone has a bad e-gear system, they don't make those anymore. You can't just go buy an e-gear actuator from Lamborghini, at least not with a 12-month wait. And when they feel like producing it, they will. People will sell some of their e-gear parts for thousands of dollars. So it felt to me like, again, the car guy math in my head was saying the financially responsible move for me here is to swap my car. And if I don't like it, I will drive it long enough to prove that it runs well, sell it, and buy that Diablo after all. So the equivalent of compulsive shoppers that freeze their credit cards and say, I won't buy anything till after my ice thaws. And if I still want it after the ice thaws, then I know it's not a compulsive purchase, it's responsibility. So I did that equivalent. I swapped the Mercy, and the whole process for the swap actually went incredibly smooth. I think there's been about 20 cars done now, so I was able to sleep a little better at night, but basically every day I was texting Makina Motorworks being like, hey, what's the status? How's it going? What's the issues? You know, yada, yada, yada. And then they said, all right, 2 weeks later, they were done. And I was like, I can't believe it. Like, this has been 3 years in my head. You pulled the engine out and changed it to a manual in 2 weeks. And they're like, yeah, it's done. You know, one of the guys getting married. So like, we'll do a little QA when he's back. I'm like, I want someone to drive the crap out of this car. I will put this in writing if you need it, but I want your techs to drive it like they stole it. Because if it breaks, I want it to break in Texas with your mechanics nearby and they can trailer it to your shop and fix it for me. I don't want it to happen back in California. So they put on a little over 100 miles at my, not just request, but like begging them to. They were like, no, it really drives great. You're welcome to come out here. We're all super impressed with how this thing drives. We think you'll love it. When I bought the car, it had a snap reading of, I want to say 87%. So it had been recently done. And actually I reused the e-gear clutch instead of replacing it because the clutches are now like $7-8 grand. You can find resurfaced ones for cheaper or aftermarket, but they're pretty expensive. So we did another snap reading on mine. So this has got plenty of life left in it. That being said, the hardest part about e-gear was most e-gear for the 580s especially, you expect it to last 10 to 15,000 miles maybe. And it's an engine out each time. The 640s, they have a longer life, and the manuals have like a way longer. The early e-gear cars just would burn clutches, especially in reverse. So they said, don't ever back up a hill. Try to avoid going on slants altogether. Lift off when you shift. Avoid feathering the clutch. Like there were so many rules to driving an e-gear if you didn't want to roast your clutch that I wouldn't say it was stressful, but it would cause you to change how you drive it. So I'd never go in traffic because I'd worry if I got stuck in stop and go, I'd burn my clutch and that could be a problem. I wouldn't go up hills, or I would try to find back roads and like side streets to avoid hills and things like that, that with the manual you don't have to worry about. Even pulling in my garage now, I can like really take my time versus e-gear would kind of lurch you into the garage at certain speeds, or you really wouldn't try parallel parking for the same reason. Like it was just too unpredictable when it would launch, but I never had any failures or like slipping out of gear problems that I do read. It's just more like that mental barrier of like, oh, I got to baby the e-gear because it's so fragile, so expensive, and I just don't want to buy a new clutch every couple of years. Shockingly, like I keep waiting for something to break or for this to be too good to be true. I've lent it to my friends and ones that have driven OE Mercies being like, hey, how do you think it drives? And maybe they're being nice to me, but everyone's like, I'm shocked how well it drives. It's very smooth. It's very predictable in terms of the clutch feel. It feels like you would expect the car to feel. So far, 700 miles in, I'm thrilled with how it's driving. We went on a cruise that was 200 miles. We had 3 cars break down in this cruise, and I was not one of them. So I feel like that alone tells me they did something right. I think the Mercy also benefits. You got to take the engine out every once in a while and just figure out what else is broken. For me, it was motor mounts. I think for a lot of cars, it's motor mounts. I was telling Ed earlier, the starter motor is also known for going out. If you have your engine out, do it because it's very expensive while it's still in there. But we got the car freshened up in terms of maintenance, and I think that's also causing it to just drive really nice. My idle is much smoother. We did spark plugs and coil packs as well. So there's a lot of while you're in there that do make the swap a little bit more expensive, but I'm just so happy to live in a world where we can take the best era of cars, the early 2000s, and fix the one thing they screwed up, which was F1, E-Gear, Duo Select, whatever the brand called their single clutch automated manual transmission. So we're making the world right again. Nature is healing. And I now have a stick Murcielago for the price of an E-Gear.
This month of VINwiki content is brought to you by Premier Financial Services, and they are the perfect partner in your journey to own your dream car because their Simple Lease is the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. You'll get all the benefits of a leasing structure like lower payments and better tax treatment, along with everything we love about a normal exotic car loan where you can trade in and out at any time, always know where you stand thanks to their amortization table, and accumulate equity for whenever you're finished and ready for the next car. And Premier is great because they're wholly owned and backed by First Financial Bank, which means they have more buying power than any other exotic car bank or collector car bank in the United States, and their customer service is unmatched. Also, rates are lower than they have been in a very, very long time, so it's never been a better time to reach out to Premier, talk to their representatives, learn what you can pre-qualify for, and let them help you own the car of your dreams with Premier Financial Services.